Actually, while we're talking about Sony as well, I guess you know what, we're doing like reasonable segues today. So I'm sure you guys have heard about Sony potentially buying Kadokawa. By buying at Kadokawa, you've probably heard it as Sony might buy From Software, because apparently that is the only thing. That is the only thing that Kadokawa is known for. So Kadokawa is obviously, yes, From Software is big, Elden Ring is big. Like, that's the thing that a lot of the gaming people are caring about. But Kadokawa is a media giant. FromSoft is just one of the things that it owns. So, under publication, it owns Bookwalker. It owns Kadokawa Publishing. It owns ASCII Media Works. It owns the ATX channel in Japan. It owns Spike Chunsoft, From Software. What does Acquire? What have they done? They seem to work a lot alongside other studios. Also, they do ports of things. Okay, they are not as important. Okay, outside of Japan, they own J Novel Club. They own Anime News Network. They own Yen Press. 51% own Yen Press. They own Dogakobo, the animation studio. They own Kinema Citrus. They've owned a lot of other stuff in the past. Like, they used to own Magus, who worked on Steins Gate, the visual novel. There's a bunch of other just random things. Kadokawa. Oh, they own Nico Nico as well. Kadokawa is a giant company. And Sony wants to own everything. Sony already owns a lot of the anime industry. And we are actually getting to a point where Sony is becoming like an anime monopoly. Right now, it hasn't really affected the quality of the content we're getting, which is fine. I just don't know how long that is going to last, because I don't trust... Whilst I do trust the engineers at Sony to make really, really nice controllers, I don't trust the corporate leadership to do healthy things with any industry they own a lot of, whether it be manga publishing, light novel publishing, anime, video games, anything like that. But maybe we'll get Bloodborne on PC. Look, on the bright side, maybe that'll happen. Or maybe we'll get a Bloodborne re-release on PS5. I doubt it. It's probably not going to happen. I am convinced at this point that From Software legitimately does not have the source code to Bloodborne anymore. Or there is some crazy licensing deal that's stopping it being released on anything else. Because I don't understand any other reason why Bloodborne has not had a re-release, with people asking for a re-release for so long. Like, you've had re-releases of so many other games. Sony is like really big on doing re-releases right now and remasters and all that stuff. But Bloodborne, which is a cult classic game, never had anything. But that's a side tangent. I'm worried. I am worried about how this is going to happen, because I know people like to think of another giant company, right? Another big company that likes to buy up a lot of other companies is Tencent. Now, Tencent, with the Tencent, like, I guess, more marketed games, yes, they are fairly problematic. Unless you're a big fan of microtransactions. So, Tencent also owns quite a bit, or they own like 7% of Kadokawa. They own 10% of Ubisoft. 16% of FromSoft. They own 35% of Epic Games. Like, this is what I mean, right? They own 35% of ShiftUp. So, how much of... Oh, they own the majority of Miniclip. So, Tencent is a company that, if you're making money, it seems like they are a lot more hands-off. Like, they own Key, the visual novel company in Japan. They own the entirety of Riot and the entirety of Grinding Gear Games, the developers of Path of Exile. I will talk about Path of Exile 2 in a bit. But I actually trust Tencent a lot more than I trust Sony at this point, because they have let Grinding Gear Games do whatever they want. Like, people will talk about, oh, Riot, microtransactions, or, like, Ubisoft being shit, or Epic Games, and all of this stuff, but, like, the fact that Grinding Gear Games is allowed to exist in the way that it is, like, that just that by itself gives me hope. For anyone who doesn't know what I'm talking about, so, if we go to the Path of Exile website, so Path of Exile is known to have quite a lot of microtransactions, like, a lot of microtransactions, like, crazy microtransactions. If we go to the microtransaction store, let's go to new. Like, you have all of this stuff. This is just on the new page. Actually, let's go to a page that's not new. Let's go to the armor page and just scroll. And just scroll. And just keep scrolling. Okay, I guess that's the end. The difference, though, is every single microtransaction in Path of Exile, with the exception of the stash tabs, is a cosmetic. So these character ones we see here, this is just like, you want to have different colored utility flasks, or different colored nexus, or you want to go to footprints, you want to have different footprints, or you want to be fucking horrible and get some annoying pet like the Goblin Troop, which I think is in one of the bundles, actually, and just have it go doo-ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba every time you go into town and just annoy everyone. Everything in here is cosmetic. Now, normally, I would say cosmetics are the end game, and in a lot of games, they are. Actually, okay, to be fair, this is probably one of the only other few things that is possibly, you could argue pay to win. You can buy extra character slots, but most people don't play that many characters anyway, and your characters don't matter outside the current league. So unless you're playing like standard, or you really care about keeping your old characters that have been moved from a league back to standard, it's fine. Doesn't really matter. In Path of Exile, there is no... So you can't use your regular armor as part of like a transmog system, as like a glamour system. So no matter what gear you're wearing at the end of the game, it's going to look bad. The only way to look good in Path of Exile is buying the cosmetics. And considering you're normally this big on the screen, like you're a couple of pixels high, like you're never going to... There's never going to be a situation where you really, really desperately care about looking good. Now, the stash tabs are the only thing in this game that actually, not even arguably, legitimately is pay to win. Because whilst you can trade, if you don't buy a stash tab, you are not able to sell things on the market board. So pretty much if you buy this. So this is the upgrade to premium stash tab. This is 15 of their tokens. I'm never a fan of tokens, but that is like $1 or something. You can't buy perfectly sized packs. Yes, that is probably one of the things I do think about PoE is kind of dumb. I do have extra tokens right now because I'll explain that in a moment. But yeah, upgrading that to a premium tab or buying a premium quad tab, which is like a 4x size tab, basically a requirement if you want to trade. If you want your life to be not insane, you would want to buy stash tabs for all of the different item types as well. So gems, flasks, currency, div cards, blight, maps, essence, fragments, ultimatum, delve, uniques you can get away with not having, and then delirium as well. But because the game is free, that works out to be like 60, I think it's like 50, 40 US dollars, something in that range. Which I think if you're paying that for a game that you're going to play like a couple thousand hours of, even if you play like 50 hours of Path of Exile and you're like, I'm done with this, paying like $40, $50 for that, I think is reasonable. Like, this is the only purchase in the game that is required. Now, the reason why I have these extra tokens that I don't have, if you buy a pack, so you want to buy like the Lord of Ogham supporter pack, which I did buy because I wanted a key to the early access, and I also wanted the Kiwi pet. I also like the armor. When you buy a $60 pack, you also get $60 worth of points. So you're not just buying the gear, right? So basically, if you are gonna buy $60 worth of points, you might as well also buy this as well. Like this, I think this is the most fair microtransaction system I've ever seen. There is not a game that I can think of that has a more fair system